Have you ever noticed how a single, offhand remark can unravel your calm, leaving you replaying it in your mind long after the moment has passed? You might feel your heartbeat quicken, your thoughts tangle, and a familiar urge to strike back rising from within. It's as if someone lit a spark in your chest and watched the flames dance. Imagine yourself like a wolf circling a fire. You're drawn to the heat, compelled by instinct to lean in closer, but the moment you get too near, you risk getting burned. Or picture a child relentlessly pressing buttons on a broken machine, fascinated by each reaction. In both cases, the provoker finds delight in your response, feeding off the tension you create. When you react emotionally, you step into their game. You become the player on a board they've set up, but what if you could deny them that power? What if instead of dancing at the end of their strings, you simply paused? In that breath of silence, you reclaim your peace. In that moment of stillness, you become untouchable. Today, we'll explore 7 Stoic strategies designed to transform every act of disrespect into an opportunity for mastery. You'll learn how to see their behavior for what it truly is, a reflection of their inner turmoil, not a measure of your worth. You'll discover the power of steady composure over fleeting revenge, and how a clear boundary spoken with calm authority can do more than any harsh word ever could. By the end of this journey, you will hold a new mindset, one that shifts the balance of power in your favor. You'll recognize when to walk away, preserving your energy for what truly matters. You'll build an unshakable foundation of self-worth, rooted not in applause, but in the quiet confidence that comes from living your values. Stay with me through each part. Embrace these principles not as distant ideals, but as practical steps you can take today. Let this be the moment you stop handing over your peace and start living with the dignity only a true Stoic can claim. Part 1. Recognize the provocation. Spotting the hidden jab begins with noticing that subtle shift in the air when someone's words cut deeper than their volume would suggest. You've felt it yourself, a sarcastic remark delivered with a smile, a half-hearted compliment that stings, or a backhanded joke thrown into conversation just to see if you'll react. In that moment, your body tightens, your jaw clenches, your heart rate quickens, and you sense the trap snapping shut, spotting the hidden jab. When someone tests you, they rarely scream insults. They whisper them. They lace their tone with thinly veiled contempt and watch for your flinch. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." Notice the undertow of those words, the way they pull at your calm. Recognizing the provocation is your first act of strength. It frees you from falling into the current. Understanding the intent. Behind every disrespectful act lies a motive, sometimes insecurity, sometimes a craving for power. Think of a colleague who interrupts you mid-sentence as if your ideas aren't worth hearing. They aren't challenging you to engage in honest debate. They're probing for a reaction, a crack in your composure they can exploit. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." By understanding their intent, you refuse to play on their field. Imagine Sarah, a dedicated project manager whose team member always undercuts her suggestions with a smirk. Each time she speaks, he murmurs a quick dismissal. At first, Sarah tried to match his tone, firing back with a sharp retort, only to walk away feeling drained and small. Then one day she paused. Instead of jumping at his slight, she simply continued presenting her plan with quiet confidence. His smirk faded. He realized his tactic no longer landed. Sarah had recognized the provocation and refused to give it life. The power of naming. When you label the behavior that was a passive-aggressive comment, you break its spell. You name it, and it loses its mystery. You create distance between you and the insult. In doing so, you protect your inner calm. As Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not which port he sails, no wind is favorable." When you know the wind is an act of provocation, you adjust your sails accordingly. Embrace the neutral observer. Picture yourself as a quiet witness to the scene rather than its star. You stand outside the drama, simply observing. A gust of disrespect blows toward you, but you remain unmoved. You feel the breeze on your skin, acknowledge its direction, and let it pass. This neutral stance is not coldness, it is clarity. It allows you to decide your next move from a place of choice, not reaction. A story of quiet resolve. Consider Daniel, who faced a relentless critic in his writing workshop. After each reading, this critic offered comments dripping with condescension. Fellow writers bristled on Daniel's behalf, but he remained silent during feedback sessions. Later, he approached the critic privately and asked, "I notice your feedback often focuses on tone rather than content. What are you trying to help me achieve?" The critic, surprised to be met with curiosity instead of defensiveness, found himself offering constructive suggestions rather than veiled barbs. Daniel recognized the provocation and transformed it into an opportunity for dialogue. Practical steps to recognition. Tune into your body. Notice the moment your breathing shallows or your fists clench. Pause and reflect. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this a genuine question or a test? Label the behavior. Silently name it. Ah, that was sarcasm. Choose your response. With provocation identified, you move from reaction to intention. When you practice these steps, you graduate from being a target to becoming an architect of your own calm. You see the provocation for what it is, a reflection of someone else's need to feel powerful, and you refuse to feed that need. Recognizing the provocation is not about cynicism or mistrust. It is about self-awareness and emotional discipline. It is the moment you decide that your peace of mind is more valuable than any fleeting victory in a battle of words. As you continue on this journey, carry this truth with you. Every disrespectful act is an invitation to demonstrate your strength. The next time someone pokes at your defenses, you will already know you have seen the blade before it strikes. And in that clarity, you remain untouchable. Part 2. Own your response. When disrespect lands at your feet, the first instinct may be to react, to fire back words you'll later regret, to let anger seize the wheel. But in that instant of surrender, you exchange your power for a momentary thrill. The Stoics knew that the only thing truly yours is your response. Everything else, the insult, the circumstance, the provocateur's intent, lies beyond your control. What remains in your hands is the choice to hand over your peace or to claim it back. Notice the trigger. You feel it in your chest, a tightness, a hot rush of blood, a swirl of thoughts demanding retaliation. This is the invitation to react. Epictetus taught, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them. When you catch that view, they disrespected me, therefore I must defend myself. You can step outside it." By observing the physical and mental signs of activation, you create the space to decide for yourself. Imagine Emma, who worked in customer service. One afternoon, a rude client yelled at her over a minor billing error. Emma's heartbeat raced, her vision narrowed, and she felt the urge to shout back. Normally, she would have snapped, but that day she paused. She felt the tension, acknowledged the heat, and refused to let it dictate her next move. In that silence, she chose her response and remained master of her calm. Pause and choose. That moment of pause is not weakness. It is a declaration of strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded us how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. When you insert even 2 seconds of silence between stimulus and reaction, you break the cycle of provocation. In that gap, you weigh your priorities. Is this moment worth the erosion of your self-respect? Picture yourself in a meeting. A colleague sneers at your suggestion and laughs under their breath. Your mind screams for an immediate comeback, but you breathe in, hold the air, and let it go. You feel the urge pass, and then you choose to respond with calm clarity or not at all. That choice is your affirmation of self-control. Define your outcome. Reacting on impulse yields only a fleeting victory, often followed by regret or exhaustion. Instead, ask yourself, what do I want to walk away with? Temporary satisfaction or enduring dignity? When you make your goal clear, preserving your integrity, you align your words and actions with principle rather than passion. Consider Marcus, a high school coach whose team's parent publicly criticized his methods. In years past, Marcus might have defended his approach forcefully, explaining every nuance. But now, when faced with similar accusations, he simply said, "I coach for the growth of these young athletes. I appreciate your concern." His calm, purpose-driven response disarmed the tension and redirected the conversation to what truly mattered: the athlete's development. Practical steps to owning your response. Sense the buildup. Notice your breath, heart rate, and muscle tension the moment you feel attacked. Pause with intention. Count to 3 in your mind or focus on a single deep breath to interrupt the reactive loop. Remind yourself of your values. Ask, what would a person of integrity do here? Choose your words. If you speak, let each sentence be measured, kind, and grounded in principle. If silence serves better, offer it as your response. Reflect afterward. Review the exchange and affirm the strength you showed, or plan how you might improve next time. A story of steady resolve. I once spoke with a friend, Alex, who encountered daily microaggressions at his workplace. A teammate habitually made dismissive jokes at his expense. Alex used to laugh along uneasily, hoping to blend in, only to feel resentful afterward. Then he decided to test this new approach. At the next jibe, he paused, met his teammate's gaze, and calmly said, "That comment undermines our teamwork. Let's keep this respectful." He felt his heart pound, but he held firm. The teammate, surprised, stuttered, and then apologized. Alex didn't seek a public showdown. He simply chose a response aligned with his self-respect. By owning your response, you declare that your inner life follows your own rules. You settle the matter within yourself, regardless of the provocateur's next move. Over time, this practice becomes second nature. Your mind becomes a sanctuary immune to outside chaos. As you continue on this path, remember, every disrespectful moment is an opportunity to reinforce your sovereignty over your own mind. When you refuse to react on autopilot, you step into the true Stoic way, standing firm, unshaken, and at peace with yourself. Part 3. See their issue, not yours. When someone levels a cutting remark at you, it can feel personal, as if they have reached inside your mind and plucked out your insecurities. But more often than not, their attack reveals far more about their own struggles than it does about your worth. By shifting your focus from self-doubt to compassionate curiosity, you reclaim your power and refuse to play the victim. Understanding projection. People project their inner conflicts onto others to distract from their own pain. Marcus Aurelius observed, "When someone does you wrong, remember, he acts or speaks because he judges that what he does is good." In other words, disrespect is a faulty compass, pointing back to their own confusion, fear, or lack of self-esteem. When you recognize this, you stop internalizing the sting of their words. Consider David, a talented graphic designer whose colleague undermined his presentations with snide remarks. Each time the colleague joked about David's amateurish eye, David felt small and defensive. Over time, he realized these jabs were not about his skills, but about the colleague's fear of being outshined. By seeing the issue, his colleague's insecurity, instead of his own perceived flaw, David no longer took the comments to heart. The power of reframing. Reframing means catching yourself before you spiral into self-criticism. Instead of thinking, "They said I'm incompetent," shift to, "They feel threatened by my competence." This pivot creates emotional distance. Seneca taught, "To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden." When you reframe disrespect as the other person's burden, you protect your own peace. Imagine you're in a team meeting and someone dismisses your suggestion with a mocking laugh. In that moment, pause and ask, what drives that mockery? Perhaps they lack confidence in their own ideas, or they fear being exposed as unprepared. By understanding their motive, you preserve your dignity and can continue contributing with quiet confidence. Practical steps to see their issue. Pause and observe. When you feel offended, stop for a breath. Notice the words without immediately loading them with meaning. Ask the reflective question. Internally inquire, what insecurity or fear is behind those words? Detach your identity. Remind yourself, their opinion is not my truth. Respond with empathy or neutrality. Choose to speak kindly about the real issue or simply carry on. Your reaction need not mirror their negativity, a story of transformative empathy. Laura, a nonprofit director, faced constant criticism from a board member who questioned every decision she made. At first, Laura met each critique head-on, defending her choices in long emails. But the more she defended, the harsher his comments became. One evening, she reflected on his unspoken frustration and realized he feared losing influence over the organization he had helped build. The next time he challenged her, Laura said calmly, "I appreciate your passion for this cause. Let's find a way to combine your experience with our new initiatives." His tone softened, and the hostility faded. By seeing his issue rather than her own, Laura transformed conflict into collaboration. Why this matters. Allowing disrespect to define your self-image gives away control of your inner life. You start believing the narrative they project onto you, but when you recognize that the critic's words are a mirror of their own doubts, you pull the reins back. You stand firm in your self-worth, guided by your values rather than by someone else's pain. Stoic reflection. Marcus Aurelius counseled, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Seeing the issue in others is a profound exercise of that power. It reminds you that external affronts lose their power when you refuse to make them personal. As you practice this mindset, you build resilience. Each time you encounter disrespect and look beyond the surface, you reinforce an unshakable foundation of self-awareness. You no longer stumble at every jab. You meet them with calm insight and maintain control over your emotional landscape. Remember, the next time someone aims a barb your way, you have a choice. Absorb it as truth or view it as a symptom of their own battle. Choosing the latter not only protects your peace, but also opens the door to understanding and sometimes meaningful dialogue. In this way, you embody the true Stoic way, standing unbothered, compassionate, and sovereign over your own mind. Part 4. Speak with calm authority. When disrespect crosses your path, your voice becomes more than sound. It becomes a beacon of your inner conviction. You hold the power to transform tension into clarity simply by how you choose to speak. In that moment, you are not a passive recipient of insult. You are the author of your response, setting the tone for every interaction that follows. The Stoic principle, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In other words, you refuse to descend into bitterness or retaliation. Instead, you mirror the steadiness of your own values. By speaking with calm authority, you demonstrate that your dignity matters more than a fleeting moment of retribution. Why revenge steals your peace? When you lash out in anger, you grant control of your emotions to the very person who aimed to unsettle you. Their fury fuels your own, and suddenly you find yourself locked in a struggle that neither of you truly wins. Seneca observed, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity with courage. Reacting hastily may feel like courage, but it often masks confusion and regret. True courage lies in measured words spoken from a grounded mind. Crafting a measured reply, pause to center yourself. Before you speak, take a breath. Let the moment of stillness remind you of your purpose, to uphold principle, not to punish. Choose words aligned with your values. Ask yourself, what do I wish to convey? Perhaps it is respect, perhaps boundary, perhaps simply the truth. Speak with steady intent. Deliver your response in a calm, even tone. When you speak softly yet firmly, you compel others to lean in, not recoil from a shout. A story of quiet command. Consider James, a department head who faced a public rebuke from a senior executive. The executive challenged his strategy in front of the team, insinuating incompetence. James felt the sting, but remembered his commitment to integrity. Rather than snap back, he calmly said, "I appreciate your perspective. Let's explore how this plan aligns with our long-term goals." His clear, composed response shifted the meeting from accusation to collaboration. The executive, taken aback, found himself engaging in constructive dialogue rather than scoring points. When silence speaks louder, sometimes the most powerful response is the absence of one. By choosing silence over snap judgment, you hold space for reflection, for both yourself and the provocateur. As Epictetus wrote, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." When you remain silent, you signal that you are not swept away by emotion. You show that your calm is unshakable and that any insult that goes unanswered loses its edge. Practical steps to speak with calm authority. Anchor in your values. Remind yourself of the principles that guide you: honesty, respect, clarity. Let those words form the foundation of your reply. Frame your message. Begin with acknowledgement. "I hear your concern," and then state your point. "Here's why I believe this approach serves us best." This structure prevents defensiveness and encourages mutual understanding. Maintain a steady tone. Lower your volume slightly. A composed voice commands attention more than a raised one. Hold your ground. If the other person persists, calmly repeat your core message or choose to end the exchange with a respectful close. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Let's revisit this when we've both had time to reflect. The gift of firm kindness. Speaking with calm authority is not about domination. It is the gift of firm kindness. You show respect for yourself and the other person by communicating clearly and without malice. This approach disarms hostility and invites collaboration. It demonstrates that you value integrity over ego and that your strength lies in self-mastery, not in overpowering others. A reflection to carry forward. When you practice calm authority, you shift the dynamics of any exchange. Criticism becomes feedback. Confrontation becomes conversation. You transform disrespect into a chance to reinforce your values and to guide interactions toward mutual respect. Over time, this practice becomes habitual. You will find that people pause before speaking ill of you, recognizing that their words will meet your unwavering composure. As you continue on this path, remember, your voice is a reflection of your inner world. When you choose calm authority, you broadcast a powerful message that you are governed not by fleeting emotions, but by enduring principles. In that clarity, you claim the true Stoic way. Part 5. Draw your line with clarity, defining your limits. Every time you let someone cross a line, you teach them that your peace is expendable. Imagine you are a gardener protecting a delicate flower bed. Without clear boundaries, without a sturdy fence, others will trample the blooms in their haste. Your emotional well-being is like that garden. You must decide what behavior you will allow near your heart and what you will not. The Stoic insight. Plato once said, "Wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something." In the same way, a true Stoic does not tolerate senseless invasions of their dignity simply because others choose to speak. When you set a boundary calmly, you speak from principle, not from emotion. You assert that your time, energy, and self-respect are not up for debate. Clarify your non-negotiables. Begin by asking yourself, what feels intolerable to you? Is it sarcasm under the guise of humor? Interruptions that minimize your voice? Personal attacks that dig at your values? List 2 or 3 scenarios that consistently drain you. This simple act of naming gives clarity to your inner compass. You no longer drift in reaction. You navigate with purpose. A story of quiet resolve. Consider Anna, a team leader who discovered that every brainstorming session ended with her ideas dismissed as too risky. At first, she smiled and proceeded, hoping to win them over later. But the pattern continued, and each dismissal felt like a wound. One day, as a colleague again brushed off her proposal, Anna paused the meeting. She looked around the room and said with calm firmness, "I value creative exploration as much as you do. If my ideas are too risky, please let me know directly. Otherwise, I'll assume you're open to considering them fully." The ensuing silence spoke volumes. Her colleagues realized they had unconsciously undermined her. From that moment on, her ideas were heard and respected. Communicate with calm conviction. Pause before you speak. Take a breath. Ground yourself in your values. State your boundary clearly. Use simple, direct language. I need you to let me finish before responding. Maintain a steady tone. Speak softly but confidently. Your calm voice carries authority. Stand firm. If the boundary is crossed again, remind them in the same measured way or choose to walk away. Why consistency matters. A boundary is only as strong as your commitment to enforce it. If you draw the line once and then retreat at the next challenge, you send a message that your limits are negotiable. Seneca advised, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." But kindness does not mean passivity. By consistently upholding your boundaries, you show kindness to yourself and set a standard for how others should treat you. Transforming conflict into respect. When you draw your line with clarity, you shift the dynamic. Disrespect no longer confuses you, it prompts you to act. Instead of reacting with anger or guilt, you respond with intention. You transform potential conflict into an opportunity for mutual understanding. People learn that your respect must be earned, not taken for granted. A note on self-respect. Your boundaries are an expression of self-respect, not a shield of hostility. By defining what you will and will not tolerate, you honor your own worth. This self-honor radiates outward, compelling others to adjust their behavior. You no longer feel anxious about overstepping. You feel confident in safeguarding your emotional space. Practical reflection. After each interaction where you feel tension, ask yourself, did I uphold my boundary? If yes, acknowledge the strength it took and the peace it preserved. If not, consider how you might state your boundary more clearly next time. This ongoing reflection hones your emotional discipline and deepens your understanding of what truly matters to you. Embodying the true Stoic way. Drawing your line with clarity is more than a tactic. It is a declaration of your inner sovereignty. It tells the world that you live by your own code, guided by principle rather than impulse. As you practice this, you become like the oak tree whose roots run deep. It does not bow to every wind. You stand anchored in your values, unshaken by disrespect. When you next encounter a subtle jab or an overt slight, remember, you have the power to define the perimeter of your peace. Speak your boundary with calm authority, enforce it with compassion, and watch as your inner garden flourishes, untrodden by the careless footsteps of others. Part 6. Exit. When it's strategic. Walking away can feel like defeat. But in the Stoic way, it is often the most powerful move you can make. You recognize that not every battle advances your purpose. Sometimes the bravest act is to preserve your energy and dignity by stepping aside. In that decision lies your true strength. Understanding strategic withdrawal. Seneca observed, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." When you identify a conflict that serves no constructive purpose, choosing to leave is akin to charting a new course. You refuse to be buffeted by wasted confrontation. This act of self-preservation honors your values and protects your inner calm. Recognizing manipulation patterns. Disrespect can become a persistent cycle when the provocateur craves your reaction. You may notice the same taunts, the same dismissive gestures, repeated until you snap. When you see this pattern, you understand that engagement only fuels their desire for control. By exiting, you deprive them of the satisfaction they seek and reclaim your serenity. Imagine Lydia, a graphic novelist who attended a writer's circle. One member consistently dismissed her ideas as too whimsical, provoking her with thinly veiled mockery. At first, she tried to justify her creative choices, but the mocking only intensified. One evening, Lydia quietly gathered her notes and left the circle mid-discussion. The next week, the facilitator asked where she had gone. Lydia's absence spoke louder than any defense she could have offered. The Stoic perspective on presence and absence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. By choosing where to invest your presence, you shape your inner life. If you linger where negativity abounds, your own thoughts absorb that shade. But if you withdraw, you maintain the purity of your focus. Your absence is a statement. Your peace holds greater value than fruitless exchange." Decision criteria for exiting. Pattern recognition. Notice if the disrespect is intentional and recurring. A single misstep may deserve conversation. A consistent assault demands reconsideration. Cost-benefit analysis. Ask yourself, does this interaction contribute to my growth or merely drain my energy? Alignment with values. Evaluate whether staying aligns with your principles. If the environment forces you to compromise your dignity, it's time to go. A story of purposeful departure. Thomas, a senior engineer, found himself in a committee that thrived on political jabs. Meetings revolved around undermining colleagues rather than solving problems. Thomas tried to influence the discussion, but the atmosphere only became more toxic. One day, he informed the chair that he would focus his efforts on project work and would no longer attend the committee meetings. His departure shifted the dynamic. Without his calm expertise, the committee's infighting became more apparent, prompting a restructuring that valued constructive collaboration over petty power plays. Practice the exit with respect. Walking away does not require disdain. You can leave with kindness and clarity. Simply state, "I appreciate our shared goals, but I will focus my time on work where I can make the most positive impact." By framing your exit as a commitment to higher purpose, you honor both yourself and the relationship. The emotional aftermath. It's natural to feel a twinge of guilt or fear after you step back. You may wonder if you should have stayed and fought harder. Remind yourself that every moment is finite. As Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Your actions, preserving your peace, speak louder than endless explanations or half-hearted arguments, building resilience through exit. Each strategic withdrawal deepens your sense of agency. You learn to trust your judgment about where your presence is most needed. Over time, you grow less reactive to provocations and more intentional about your engagements. Your confidence in choosing wisely radiates outward, inspiring respect and setting a standard for how others should interact with you. Reflect and refine. After walking away, take a moment to reflect. Journal about what you learned. Did the exit preserve your peace? Did it open space for more meaningful work? Consider how this experience shapes your future boundaries. This reflection cements your growth and ensures each exit feels less like avoidance and more like a purposeful choice. Embrace the true Stoic way. By exiting when it's strategic, you demonstrate the deepest discipline, the discipline to choose your arena. You show that your peace and purpose matter more than proving a fleeting point. In this sovereignty, you embody the true Stoic way, unshakable, focused, and unwavering in your commitment to what truly serves your highest self. Part 7. Cultivate inner validation, the foundation of self-worth. Your truest strength begins within. When you base your value on others' opinions, you become a captive to their changing moods. But when your worth is anchored in your own principles and efforts, no insult can erode it. Imagine your self-esteem as a wellspring deep beneath the surface, undisturbed by passing storms. That wellspring is nourished by your dedication to honesty, hard work, and compassion. Stoic wisdom on self-approval. Seneca reminded us, "He is most powerful who has power over himself." In other words, the only validation that truly matters is your own. Marcus Aurelius echoed this when he wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you judge yourself by your own standards, rather than chasing applause or fearing criticism, you step into a place of unshakable calm. Practices to build inner validation. Begin by defining your core values. What qualities do you honor most? Integrity, resilience, kindness. Write them down and revisit them daily. Next, detach from external feedback. When you receive praise or reproach, pause before absorbing it. Ask, does this align with the person I strive to be? Over time, this discipline trains your mind to weigh only what truly matters. Every evening, take a moment to reflect on your actions. Celebrate moments when you live true to your values, no matter how small. Perhaps you offered a genuine compliment, or you resisted a cynical remark. These are the bricks that build your inner citadel. When you recognize your own progress, you need no external trophy to feel worthy. A story of inner grounding. Consider Maya, a young architect who often doubted her design instincts. Early in her career, she sought constant approval from senior partners. When criticism came, she felt her confidence crumble. One day, after receiving harsh feedback on a public presentation, Maya paused before reacting. Instead of apologizing frantically, she asked herself, What can I learn here that aligns with my vision? She refocused on her passion for sustainable design and spent that evening sketching new solutions. Over time, as Maya trusted her own voice and celebrated her progress, the sting of external critique lost its power. Her inner validation became the true measure of her success, navigating praise and criticism. Neither praise nor criticism should set the bar for your self-esteem. When someone commends your work, smile and appreciate the kindness, but return to your standards as the ultimate judge. Likewise, when someone disparages your efforts, remind yourself that their words reflect their own perspective, not an absolute truth. By consistently weighing feedback against your personal code, you remain grounded, maintaining inner validation. Life will always present challenges to your self-worth. Moments of failure, loneliness, or misunderstanding can tempt you to seek solace in others' approval. In those times, revisit your core values. Journal about instances when you acted with courage or compassion. Meditate on your intentions rather than outcomes. Each practice is a reaffirmation of your self-trust, strengthening the wellspring of inner validation that guides you. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This two-step formula, clarify your vision, then act upon it, creates a feedback loop of integrity. As you live your values consistently, your confidence grows organically, untethered from external validation. Reflection and growth. Set aside a weekly moment to review your journey. Ask, where did I honor my principles this week? Where did I drift away? Celebrate your adherence and plan how to course correct when necessary. This reflective habit deepens your self-awareness and solidifies your inner approval as the guiding force in your life. Embodying true Stoic freedom. Cultivating inner validation is the final pillar in handling disrespect like a true Stoic. When you no longer rely on others to define your worth, you become free, immune to provocation, and grounded in your own power. Your self-respect shines through every word and action, and you navigate life with a quiet confidence that inspires respect rather than demanding it. Carry this practice forward, and you will find that disrespect no longer finds fertile ground in your mind. Your inner wellspring remains pure, and your strength becomes a beacon for others seeking the same freedom. Conclusion. You have walked through 7 Stoic strategies that transform every act of disrespect into an opportunity for growth. You learn to recognize hidden provocations, own your response, and see the other person's issue rather than your own. You discovered the power of calm authority in speech, the importance of clear boundaries, and the strength of exiting strategically. Finally, you cultivated inner validation that roots your self-worth in principles, not opinions. Each step you take reinforces one timeless truth. Your peace and dignity belong to you, and no one else can claim them. When you pause before reacting, you become the master of your mind. When you speak with clarity, you guide conversations toward respect. And when you draw firm lines or choose to walk away, you honor your own values above all else. This is the true Stoic way. If this journey resonated with you, show your support by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new insight on living with purpose and emotional discipline. Share your own experiences or questions in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else to reclaim their calm. Remember, every moment of disrespect is your chance to practice Stoic mastery. Embrace these strategies, live by your values, and step into a life where your inner strength shines brighter than any insult. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.